everybody. I'm Susan with Two Chicks with Hiking Sticks.
I'm Monica.
She's with two chicks, too, in case you wondered who she was.
Well, there are two of us, so.
Well, we like to also cover things that are natural, historical, and culturally relative in our world today. And this is part deux.
Due?
Due?
Well, due in Italiano.
Or dos in
Dos
Spanish.
in Espanol.
So this is part 2 of Glacier Bay. And today we're talking about Glacier Bay and logistics regarding Glacier Bay. Because I think it's kind of important, because if you're embarking on a journey to go to Glacier Bay or go to most any other parks that are out in Alaska, it takes a little bit of planning to do.
Oh, and she's a planner.
This is one of the things that I'm really good at, is planning. And
let's just call it anal. Let's call it what it is.
Well, and
she's really good and really anal about it.
Let me tell you how good I am.
Oh, hello.
Because one must toot one's own horn. So,
toot away.
You're darn tootin', I'm tootin'. That pizza, I tell you.
Stop. Ew. God.
So anyhow, my credentials are, well, I plan all of my traveling trips, right? So, but in 2023, I planned a trip to Alaska. That was a 42-day trip to Alaska. 42 days driving from South Texas into Alaska. Because once I discovered that you really can drive all the way to Alaska, I said, I am on it, blue bonnet. And no one could get me off of it. Because I was so excited, because I love a driving trip. So this is kind of important when you're going to Glacier Bay. Because it really took some real planning to do Glacier Bay.
I think in general, to drive to Alaska takes a lot of planning, because I know when I had my RV, there were people that were going to drive to Alaska, but they did it in groups because that way you always had a backup, because part of the road is gravel. Is that correct?
Well, if you even call it that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just went in my 4Runner. There were 4 of us going in my 4Runner, and you eventually, because you drive, like for us, we had to drive up all the way through Sweetwater or Sweetgrass into Canada, kind of where Calgary is, and then you kind of start heading west. As you start heading west, you eventually get to the Alaskan, which is the Alaska-Canada Highway, which the United States and Canada built together, so that there was a road to get into Alaska. And on the Alaskan, that's the most notorious road.
Right.
Because it is both isolating and not always in great condition, and there is generally construction whenever you go.
Right, and that's what I remember about the RV groups, because I had thought about it at the time, but I just couldn't take enough time off work to do it. But there were several different kinds of rigs going all at once, you know, so that there was a place where somebody could stay if something broke down. One of the larger RVs could accommodate, you know, the people in that, and spare tires, everybody carrying excess tires, excess water, extra gas, just all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and I think it's important that depending upon what your rig is, particularly if you're driving, is if you're in an RV, having those extras are important. If you're in like a 4Runner like I was, you're pretty fine. The rule of thumb is always fill up every time you see a gas station. Just fill up. Because the things that happen in Canada, particularly as you start heading into, you know, from Alberta to British Columbia to the Yukon, as you start heading west, services become fewer and far between. And it's not that they're not available, they're just fewer and far between. And then you're also reliant on their infrastructure. So, for example, we had stopped someplace, I can't even remember now where it was somewhere in Western Canada. And we were eating eating lunch at this place, and the electricity went out because there was high winds. And so then we had to pay cash in Canada. We just happened to have enough. But it's like you can't, you know, when infrastructure goes down, they're like, oh, yeah, somebody will be back out in the 24 hours to eventually fix it or whatever. Because, like, it happens to them all the time, but you're traveling through. So that's why you always want to gas up when you can gas up. You always want to, you know, take advantage of what you can take advantage as you're driving up there. But the Alaskan is not for the faint of heart. And certainly if you are in an RV, more people have more issues in an RV. Yeah. Because they tend to pop a tire here or there or have more breakdowns for some reason. Right. And part of that is that the road is very rough. And in some places, as I said, it's, it's controlled highway because they're doing repairs and stuff. So you may end up waiting 20, 30 minutes before you actually start moving to be able to get through a spot. So they always say that when you're planning your traveling by car, is that while it may say on Google Maps, like, 8 hours from point A to point B, you should factor in more time because you don't know what's going to be ahead of you. But having said that, you see some most wonderful wildlife on the trip.
I bet.
I mean, you see the bears, you see the moose, you see this wildlife in its habitat.
Cool.
And it is really cool. So the drive is absolutely worth it.
Excellent.
Yeah, but now getting back to Glacier Bay, there are two ways to get to Glacier Bay. You're either going to fly to Glacier Bay or you're going to quasi-drive and then take a boat. So it's either flying or boat. Those are about the only two ways. Now, if you want to fly to Glacier Bay, you're going to fly to Juneau, and then you're going to take a plane. They have Alaskan Airlines during the summertime has regular flights that will fly from Juneau over to Glacier Bay. Other than that, you're going to have to go find an air taxi somewhere to get you over there. So those are the only ways you're going to fly over there. So if you're out of season, you're going to have to find an air taxi. And there are air taxis everywhere in Alaska. And you can get them probably out of Skagway, out of Haines. Those are all kind of in the same general direction. But if you're driving, what you're going to do is because if you're coming up from, say, the lower 48, you're going to come up and you're going to go over. You're going to have to come back down. You're going to have to leave Canada, go into Alaska, and go down to like Skagway or Haines Junction. You're going to have to get down to Haines to be able to take a ferry. So then you're going to have to take a ferry from, like, say, Skagway down to Juneau, and then take a ferry from Juneau over to Gustavus, which is where Glacier Bay is.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah, so when I said that, you earn your wings by planning this stuff, you really do have to plan, because particularly if you're driving or you're arriving in Juneau and you're going to take a ferry over, the Alaskan Marine Highway System is where you're going to get the ferry. And there's a website. You can get all the information you need on the website, all the routes and everything that you need. And you can pick kind of what port you're going to be coming from. So for us, we had to take one from Skagway to Juneau, Juneau to Gustavus, and then the same way back. But it's not like they're every day. So you have to plan.
Wow.
You have to plan when you're going to be able to get a ferry to Gustavus, which is Glacier Bay, and then plan when you're going to get off of Gustavus to get back to Juneau. So in some cases, like for us, we arrived on a Monday, we left on a Thursday. Mm-hmm. That's when the ferries ran. So if you're flying, that's not as much of an issue because they tend to have daily flights. But they also said, Glacier Bay has said, the national park has said, they've had record visitors for the past couple of years. So if you're going to go, you need to plan this well enough advance.
So you would probably buy your flights ahead of time if you decided to fly?
Well, yes, but let's talk about the other part. So say you can get to Glacier Bay, Gustavus. Again, it's Gustavus Airport, and it's Gustavus where the ferry lands you, right? And, you drive your car onto the ferry, and I'll share a picture of that because it's a wee bit tight. So, because when you're buying your ticket for the ferry, you have to say how long your vehicle is because they're going to pack you in like sardines because they are packing in 18-wheelers, RVs, everything goes on that ferry.
Wow.
Yeah. So I had made the mistake, so don't make this mistake on my vehicle. I knew how long my 4Runner was, but I forgot that I had a carrier attached to my 4Runner. So I had to quickly make an update to make sure I could add another 3 feet onto my vehicle because that was going to take up space right on the ferry. So, which I could. It was an extra, I don't know, $3 or whatever it was. But it's that kind of thing. So they're going to pack you in like sardines, and then you're going to drive off. And there's essentially one road on that area, in Gustavus. There's essentially one road, and we were staying at Glacier Bay Lodge, so we could just drive over to the Glacier Bay Lodge. Now, here's the thing. So logistic-wise, again, you're either going to fly, you're going to take a boat. One of the two ways. Now, where are you going to stay? There's essentially kind of like Glacier Bay Lodge, which is the most popular place that people stay, mm-hmm. right? And most people stay there because it is the National Park Visitor Center. So it's very convenient to stay there. There are a couple of other places you can stay. There is an RV and a campground. There is another like country inn kind of place that you can stay at. You just have to be sure then that you have your own vehicle in order to be able to do that, because you're going to have to, if you're staying someplace other than Glacier Bay Lodge and you want to take a boat tour, you're probably going to take it out of Glacier Bay Lodge. So you're going to have to somehow get over there. So you're probably going to need to have a car.
How long is a ferry ride?
From Juneau to Gustavus is 4.5 hours. It is beautiful, though. I mean...
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm sure it's amazing. I'm just trying to think, is it one of those ferries where you have to sit in your car, you can get out, and you can walk around, and there's seats inside if you want?
Yeah, you can't stay in your car.
Oh, okay.
You have to get out.
Okay.
Yeah. And when you check the Alaskan Marine Highway System, and you're checking to see, especially, again, if you're driving and you're going to stop off, say, you're going to come from Skagway or you're going to come from Haines down to Juneau, some of their ferries have birthing stations, or it's not stations, birthing rooms. So that's sleeping rooms, right? Not you're having a baby.
Like birth, right?
Birthing rooms.
B-E-R-T-H, not B-I-R-T-H.
Thanks for the clarification.
Because there's lots of babies being born on the ferry, yeah.
They're not that exciting, but anyhow. So they do have some of those rooms, and they're well worth the money, because it was nice to have a place that we could just leave our stuff, we could charge our, digitals or whatever. It was nice to have our own space and our own bathroom, our own everything.
Yeah.
But I will say, on the ones that don't have those birthing rooms, they were fine otherwise. You just find, some chairs together. You find some of them have tables, like booths that you can sit at. So there are places for you to kind of claim some space for you and your group.
Are ferries like I get seasick.
They were not, no. None of the ones that we were on did. I wasn't uncomfortable in any of them. But I'll tell you what, you can go outside and freeze your butt off, but you get to go see some pretty sights when you're outside.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Just the view of everything is really cool. But anyhow, so important, though, because you've got to make reservations for a ferry or for the plane, but then you have to have a place to stay if you're going to stay longer. Now, most of the people that come to Glacier Bay are coming from cruise lines, because there are cruise ships that go there, or they're coming from the ferries, or they're coming from an airplane that's coming in, right? You've got to figure out, if you're staying there more than a day, you've got to get that lodging planned well in advance.
Right.
So, for example, because I'm going back to Alaska in 2026. So I'm going to go back to Alaska because I enjoyed it so much. And yes, I'm going to drive again, but this time I think it's a 44-day trip, not a 42. Anyhow. But the important part was being able to book the room. And some of these rooms you can't book until a year in advance.
Right.
And Glacier Bay Lodge is one of those. So you want to book it as soon as you can, a year in advance of the date that you think that you're going to go. But you have to figure, because we're having to do this blindly, because we don't know the schedule yet for the ferries. We're just hoping it's similar to what it is this year, because we've already booked the hotel room.
Right. Wow.
So.
And then how long is the flight, would you say?
The flight from Juneau to Gustavus is like, 40-45 minutes, something. It's short. It's not long.
A whole lot more expensive?
A couple $100, $200-$300.
I would fly.
Well, but then you have to figure out what you're going to do when you're on the island. It's not like they have Uber or Lyft. So you have to think about that.
Yeah, well,
You can probably get a shuttle to wherever you're staying, but again, you have to figure out where you're staying, make sure there's availability, make sure then you have a way of getting there.
Yeah.
To me, it's the combination of those two that make it harder to get to. So, But you just have to plan in advance. So that's part of the logistics, right? The other thing I would say is that when you're choosing where you want to stay, and I know I'm chunky, but you have to think about food. Because don't expect that this place has lots of restaurants on this island area place, because there are not. I think there are maybe just a couple. Glacier Bay Lodge serves breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then I saw another inn, they serve, I think, like breakfast and dinner or something. So you really need to check that out and plan in advance if you're going to be there for multiple days.
I wonder if there are tours or trips that somebody has curated, that would, for people that don't plan. I mean, I'm a planner too, but I'm not a planner like you. I don't do the spreadsheets and shit. Sorry. I don't do those, spreadsheets with all the info. We're driving for 2 days. We're going to stop here to rest.
I even had the temperatures, the lows and the highs of the average temperatures, because we needed to know.
Yes.
I mean, we needed to know how long it was until the next place, and then how many miles it was, and then, what the temperature was going to be, so we knew kind of how to dress for the area. But But yeah, understanding the food, understanding where you're going to stay, how you're going to get there, those all have to be planned so in advance that you need to take the time to do it. So, having said that, so you've gotten there, you got a place to stay, then you have to think about your activities. They do have the Glacier Bay boat tour that you then can go on, which leaves out of, it's close to where the Glacier Bay Lodge is. You kind of walk down and it's over there. That is the tour that takes you out into the water and to go actually see the glaciers, like Marjorie Glacier, which everybody talks about Marjorie Glacier. There are a few other glaciers that obviously you see, but the most spectacular part of being able to take this boat tour, because it's like a 7-hour boat tour, and there's a lunch, but a 7-hour boat tour. So like you're gone all day. And the day that we had gone, we walked out and it was like a foggy morning. And it was really kind of cool because this is Glacier Bay, so it's a bay area. And there was like this fog and these lonely ships that were moored out in the water. It was like really kind of a cool little sight. And then you get on the boat and it's still kind of foggy and the fog over kind of like some of the mountains and stuff. And then you kind of go out into the free water and then you start seeing the wildlife that are out there, the puffins, the ptarmigans,
Nice.
the mountain goats, the bald eagles, the otters, just the wildlife that you see is just worth the price of admission to get on that boat and go.
Nice.
And if you can withstand and dress appropriately and withstand the cold weather, even better, because then you can just stay outside. I mean, you can stay inside the boat, and I'll put up a picture of the boat too, but the boat that we had when we went, you can stay inside to stay warm, or you can go outside and get all the best pictures you ever wanted.
I would love to do all that. There's places I would love to go see. I just worry about getting seasick.
I don't think so, because it's not like, even for as much speed as we took to kind of get going, to get closer to where the glaciers were, never did I feel like it was like we were in rough waters or anything.
It's not the speed, it's just the movement.
Yeah, and there was never rough water like we were never like, whoo, oh my gosh, like sometimes you could be on a cruise ship, like when you're not on the inside passage
That's
kind
why
of thing.
I can't do a cruise.
Yeah, because those can be bad.
Yeah.
It was never anything like that.
I mean, I'm the kind of person that you know how when you walk on a boardwalk and the boards, there's space between the boards?
Yeah.
When I look down, if I see the water moving, it makes me nauseous.
Oh my.
Yeah. So
That's
I
really
have
unfortunate.
It is because I have to really think about what I want to put my body through.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So,
I mean, I would say both the ferries and the Glacier Bay boat tour, I didn't notice it at all. I mean, certainly not anything like what I noticed when I was on a cruise.
Yeah.
Because I also did an Alaskan cruise. And while that's really cool and you get close to things, and you do see glaciers on an Alaskan cruise, that was cool. But I remember people when I worked were saying, you really need to go inland. And so when this opportunity came up in 23 to go to Alaska, I'll tell you, I'll never do it any other way. Because you do not see Alaska until you're actually in Alaska.
Yeah.
Like inside Alaska. So
cool.
yeah, so you want to make sure you book some, so you can do, I mean, there's so many activities you can do out there too. So you can do kayaking, hiking, and boating, fishing, all of that. You can take, there are different types of boat charters that you can do out there as well. But the biggest tour is the Glacier Bay Lodge tour, which you can also book while you're at Glacier Bay Lodge. So
Nice.
not that I'm, sponsored by Glacier Bay Lodge, but I wouldn't mind it. They have really nice rooms too, and I'll put up a picture of one of the rooms that we were in. It was like a bed and then 2 bunk beds.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was nice.
It sounds great. It sounds like something I would love to see, love to do. For me, there's a lot of logistics that I'd be like, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, and I'll go back to just real quick for anybody that might consider driving. When you want to do, so when we had gone, we did, I think, 5 of the 7, because I still have to do Kobuk Valley and Gates of the Arctic, so I'll do that next time. But the other parks we did, and so when you go, the first park we did was Glacier Bay, because we knew we had to come down into Juneau and then get over and do that. When we came out, we have to come back out of Juneau, go back out through Skagway, back into Canada, come back in, go a little bit more northwest, come back into Alaska, and then come back down. That's when we did Wrangell, St. Elias, and then we started doing all the other parks as well.
I'm just going to put this out there for anybody that may be interested. If you want Susan to go into more details about her entire trip to Alaska, drop us a comment and ask for it, because It sounds all really fascinating, but it just sounds like, because I know right now you're having planning meetings with your friends for the trip that's still a year away.
Yep.
So I think some people might be interested in learning how you do that. And, I'm just saying, I'm just volunteering her.
Well, that with all the maps that are still on my wall in my dining room.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's a labor of love, and that we're going back to revisit these same parks and to do the 2 parks that I had not done. It is, if you have the time, it is so worth it to drive it. If you ever have an opportunity to drive, say, from Fairbanks down to, say, Anchorage, that drive is like $1 million drive.
See, I want to go, and I know it wasn't even, I don't think it was even Alaska. Remember the show Northern Exposure? Did you ever watch it?
Yeah.
It wasn't even in Alaska, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think it was in Alaska.
It was filmed somewhere else. Seattle, somewhere up near, not Seattle, but anyway. I just remember that show and being in love with that show and everything that was going on. Like, oh, I want to go to Alaska one day.
And that one day came, and you gotta just go.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it. And not everybody, like when we go again in 26, not everybody's gonna drive, because not everybody can drive. Not everybody can take 44 days. Some people still work, right? But you can fly into, like, say, Juneau, and then fly over to a Fairbanks, rent a car in Fairbanks.
Yeah, see, that's what I think I would do.
Yeah, so there are plenty of opportunities, but I'm just going to say you need to get out there and you need to go do it, because it is worth every penny, every penny and quarter and dime and nickel and dollar.
Well, yeah.
But I'd be happy to share anything you want about travel.
Drop a comment.
Yep. Drop a comment if you want to know more about my lovely planning process.
We'll let her do it.
Thanks. Appreciate that. Okay, so that's essentially it for the logistics. So you know how to get there, you know where you got to think about where you're going to stay, you know some of the activities that you can do while you're out there. And I will always say and recommend driving, because you get to see country like nobody's business. It's pretty cool.
So we're talking about, I know that usually we're talking about hiking and being prepared for when you're going out to hike, but on drives like this, you need to make sure too, obviously you're going to have certain gear with you. But in general, I think when you are doing long road trips or long drives to get to wherever it is you're going, whatever park you're going to, I think it's important to have an emergency kit or some kind of kit in your car as well.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of things that could make your life a lot easier if you carry these things in your vehicle, especially if you're a road tripping kind of person.
Yeah, which we really, the first time we went on the Alaskan, we were really prepared for that, because you don't know.
Right.
I mean, it was new to all of us, and now having been through there, we kind of have an idea what to expect. But still, we're going to still take our tool bag. We're going to still take the tire repair. I mean, all that stuff. We're going to make sure we still have that, because you don't know what you don't know, and you could also help other people.
Right.
Because it is lonely. Because there are places on the Alaskan you really don't see anybody for miles and miles.
Yeah. So. It's important to keep in mind.
Yeah, I agree. Preparedness is like, you got to do it for the car. And I bought new shoes for my 4Runner. You bought new shoes with new tires when I went.
You went, okay.
Anyhow,
it takes so little.
I was so excited.
And then don't forget, we're going to do. We have our video coming out of the stuff that we have in our hiking bags.
Oh, that's right.
And stuff that Susan carries. Is definitely relevant to hiking in certain conditions.
Yeah, so that will be out as well.
So be on the lookout for that video.
Absolutely. So there you go. We've covered Glacier Bay in 2 parts. So if you haven't seen part one is about the experience of why you really want to go to Glacier Bay. And then there was this part about more of the logistics about how to get there, where to stay, what to do.
It sounds cool. And who knows, maybe one day I'll do something like that.
I hope you do, and I hope all of y'all do too, because it is worth it.
I've got a friend who is lived in Alaska for a while and still loves Alaska. She's got some land up there, and she lives here in Texas right now. But if she ever retires, Diane, up in Alaska, I know I had a chance to visit her a while back, and when she was there, and never did it. But you never know. You never know if you decide to retire there.
Rethink your choices, Monica.
Yep, you got friends that might pop up. You never know.
2 chicks may show up at the door with their hiking sticks.
Oh, look, somebody's already inviting themselves.
What? I thought I was. I'm a chick. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed our content. And if you did, please like us, subscribe to us, and hey, why not get notifications whenever we're putting stuff out or going live?
Yeah, or share this with anybody who may be planning a trip or wants to go to Alaska. feel free to share this with them. And like I said, drop down a comment if you want Susan to work harder for you.
Yeah, and if you want me to cover, because I'll eventually cover the other Alaska national parks, but if you'd like me to cover those sooner than later, let me know.
Yeah, just holler at us.
All right. Well, I think that's about all we have.
I think that's it.
All right. Well, make sure you go hike your own hike. And until next time, we'll see you.
Bye.
Bye.